Today we have a special feature as part of our Embracing Wellness program. We'll be talking about navigating change. We're happy to be here today to talk about Erickson's Embracing Wellness program, and each of the programs, the program has 7 different parts. Today we're going to be talking about navigating change and how to do that. And here with us we have our 3, I have to remember what you're called now, resident services directors and social workers. We have Stephanie Reinheimer, and you handle what buildings?
I am in the town center area, so Parkview, Walden Court, Grove Terrace, and Madison Green.
That was a test.
Did I pass?
You did well. Elena, Keydel, you handle what areas?
Hunters Crossing, so Oak Hill, Crestwood Court, Canterbury Square, and the 3rd floor of Maple Creek. That's split between Sue and
Heart
I.
of Maple Creek. And Sue Franke, you handle?
I handle Hampton Place, Jackson Court, Connor Terrace, Forest View, and the GT first floor and 2nd floor of Maple Creek. So
Okay.
all of the floors but the 3rd
Everything
floor.
but the 3rd floor.
Everything but the 3rd floor.
Great. We're happy you're here with us to discuss this subject of embracing change. And speaking of change, let's get this information in right now while we're thinking of it. 2 of you have changed your locations. Sue, you are now to be found where?
My office now is down, it's in Village Square on the level where the theater is and the Akatink room. So I am right across from the Akatink room. They have built 2 new offices there, furnished them, and both Janelle Cesari from Community Resources and I are down in those rooms, and that is a permanent change for us.
Okay, that's good.
We will be setting up camp down there, and on down the line we'll have an open house for our residents just so that everybody can come down and see where we are.
Not an open house.
There you go. But it's a nice area down there. We have all new furniture, even in the lobby area. So
it's beautiful.
I encourage any resident that is seeking either one of us out to come down, give us a call, and you might give us a call before making the trek down.
Although we have the wonderful new elevator to ride on, so it's fun anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Stephanie, you have moved.
I have.
As part of the repositioning, where are you?
Yes, so unlike Sue, I am in a temporary spot right now, but I think for probably a rather long duration of time. And I am in an office in the medical center. So same as before, I welcome people to just stop in, but now if that is going to be your choice of getting in contact with me, you will have to let the front desk at the medical center know.
So you'll say, I'm here to see Stephanie, and
Yes.
they'll tell you where to find you.
Now, if you do make a prearranged appointment, I have been making it a habit of just coming and meeting folks at the designated time in the waiting area. That way I can just walk you back.
That's
But,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad they found a space for you.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, so your permanent office will be where?
I'm not sure they know for sure. I think in theory it may be off of the main hallway where the pharmacy and fitness center is at the moment.
Good. So lots of changes for you two, and lots of changes campus-wide are going on right now. And so today we want to talk about how people handle change. Around the campus, we're hearing people say, oh, the change is terrible. Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that? And other people are going, this is pretty nice. I kind of like this. So different people handle change in different ways.
And I think in looking at change, there are all sorts of types of change. Change can be a positive change. You have a wedding in the family, lots of graduations going on right now, so grandchildren, great-grandchildren making changes. So there's many different types of changes, changing different situations. But then there are negative or changes that we sort of feel that are negative in our lives. Someone passes away, financial,
I prefer to use changes that are a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
That's a very good way to
when we use the
look at
word
it.
negative, when we use the word difficulty, when we use the word problem, then we're labeling that change, and the person is handling it based on, well, this is a bad thing, instead of maybe this is a challenge that I need to work through. How do people react to change?
But I think our bodies react to all of these change stressors similarly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Our bodies don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, or how challenging it is, and so even a good change can feel like a big challenge in the moment.
I remember when we first came here to Green Spring, we were going to different dining rooms to try them out. And every dining room I came to, there was this little knot in my stomach that was, I don't know what to do here. Everybody else seems to know what to do. Am I the only one that doesn't know what to do? And it was just that small piece of change as a part of moving in. And when you multiply that times many things, it can become stressful for some people.
Well, and I think even with the changes, the Potomac Cafe has closed, lunch is now in Fireside, so even just small changes like that, getting used to different routines, and and it takes time to just get acclimated to the new normal.
So as our bodies react, and I think we have some slides here, there is the second, if we can go on to the second slide, which talks about fight or flight. And that's, your body is either going to say, okay, I'm going to fight this, I'm going to run away from it.
Yeah. And there's also some information that says there's a third F in this called freeze.
Yes.
So it's the idea that you fight, you flight, you move away from it, or you just become unable to do anything.
And you don't know what to do.
You don't know what to
Yes.
do. And so talking about some of the body's reactions to these different stressors, some of the things that our body can.
And your body does react. Physiologically, your body reacts.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that happen to you where you had a physiological reaction to stress?
I definitely did.
Okay, what did you have?
I used to be in a job that many years ago provided a lot of stress, and I think it was really in that job that I learned that stress can actually have a chemical influence on your brain, or different chemicals are produced when you're stressed. And so, to Sue's point, the body can experience, changes in appetite. You can be more tired. Of course, these are the negative changes you'll see. Sometimes for some folks,
let's avoid that word negative.
You're right. But some people experience adrenaline, which can be the fight aspect of responding to stress. So the reality is that you really can feel the changes in your body.
I was the child who, when sent to 4-H camp, always got homesick. I was the child who, in her first year of college, the first couple of days, was calling my parents saying, I don't think I can do this. My stomach's upset all the time. And that was I did that for years. It took me a long time to work through that. And it wasn't that mentally I was afraid or worried, but physically my body was saying, I don't feel comfortable here. I'm just going to be upset about this. And our bodies do that.
Mm-hmm. And I think some of it is recognizing that our bodies are telling us that we are having some challenges in terms of acclimating the heart palpitations or the racing heartbeat, some of the things that our body is saying, hey, wait a second, we really are having a little bit of difficulty managing this.
And there's nothing wrong with having that reaction. It's recognizing what to do about it.
Right, exactly.
And I think as I got older and recognized what it was like, oh, okay, now my stomach's going to be upset because I'm really stressed about whatever this situation is. And then you can work through it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So right now here at Green Spring, we have a lot of changes going on. And it can be as simple as a change at a crosswalk where there's a button to push, and why am I having to push that button? Yeah, this is different. And to the larger changes of all the redecorating and refurbishing and repositioning, whatever words that we use, it seems like every day there's something new. And then we have to learn, how do we deal with it? I was watching a video yesterday, and this guy said, everybody says that we don't like change, but we changed from crawling to walking. We changed from walking to riding a bike. We changed from riding a bike to driving. All of these, we have changed in our lives. We just don't remember that those were changes, because we don't see anyone crawling around here, because we all learned that. But we have been dealing with change all of our lives. There was another speaker that said, as a reaction to change, we talked about the 3 F's. This was another one. The person who says, no, I'm not doing this, and they see it as a threat. The person who says, not now. it's out, maybe sometime I'll do this, but not now. And we hear that a lot here with new residents. I'm sure that you do also. And then there's a person that says, yes, this is an opportunity. And that's the one that is really the most difficult, I think, when people come here or when people are settled here. They're saying, oh, I can't handle this. And they're saying, it's because I'm old. But it's really not. It has nothing to do with age.
Right.
And I think a lot of it is just recognizing that change can be difficult, but that it's okay.
But it can
That
be an
it's-
opportunity
it can-
also.
And I love your word of opportunity. It's not easy. Change is not easy, but yet it's an opportunity that you can look at all of the different avenues that then become possible
Right.
because of the change. So it's knowing that it's going to be a challenge, but yet then looking at how it can possibly be a benefit.
Yes, and we have some life changes listed on the screen here. And these unfortunately say positive and negative, that word we're trying to avoid. But in the positive realm, things that people normally look at positively, that this is a good thing. But then you look at that list and you go, well, some of these could be challenging too. A new job,
Absolutely.
excuse me, isn't necessarily a wonderful thing. A pregnancy may not be a wonderful thing.
And a lot of these positives for our residents here could be that a family member or a son or daughter, a grandchild moves away or moves out of the area, changing jobs, and then holidays too. While we're supposed to be happy in holidays, they are stressful
And
because
change
we're
it's a reality.
Yeah,
But another person yesterday said, if people really hate change as much as they say they do, why do they travel? Why do they lose weight? Why do they try new fashions? We change a lot more than we like to admit.
Well, and I think that's a good point. We've all been changing throughout our whole lives, so
Yes.
we all have experience doing it. And so when you come to one of the challenges or one of the changes that is a little bit more challenging, most of us have moved at one point in our life, or we've started a new job, or have had a change in the family. We have the resiliency to overcome that challenge and
But
seek the opportunities.
It's a learned resiliency.
It is
don't
a
you
learned
think?
resiliency, but we've all done it, so it's in there
Yes,
somewhere.
Right, and that's a very good point, that you just have to pull it out,
Right.
pull out those skills.
Right.
That probably the biggest thing that we hear here at Green Spring with change are people who are moving in.
Sure.
And if you say we've moved in our lives, there are people who haven't moved from the same house for 40 or 50 years.
True.
As a military wife, I've moved 1,000 times. And I look at it as an opportunity, because it's an opportunity to clean out some things. It's an opportunity to do different things in a new place to live. But if you haven't done that a lot of times,
Right.
it's very difficult.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'd say, Susan, a big part of being successful in change, I think, is the acceptance that something new is happening. I
Yes.
think with a new resident, a lot of time we'll see one foot is still back where they used to live or their old life, and it kind of is a barrier to acclimating to the new environment and change. And
That is very well said.
But yet it also, in change, some of it is maintaining your
Yes.
your prior activities and your prior. So it's that balance,
absolutely.
Yes.
of
Absolutely.
acclimating to the change, but yet then keeping some of the normal activities and regular activities that you had before, keeping to a certain schedule that gives you that confidence of
And the
being
calmness.
able. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's, for people moving here, that's where it's the most difficult, because we are so focused on what the things I can't do that I could do before, that we're not looking at the things I can still do in this new location and things that I've never done before.
And what I like to think of change as is a new chapter in the book.
Oh, yes.
So if we think of our lives as being all these chapters that are adding up, that a change is a new chapter. So looking at, I've been here 14 and a half years, been in the same office for those entire time. I've gotten everything situated just the way I want it. So how do I manage the change and keep myself still functioning in that way? So
here you are in a new space.
I had
and how are you handling it?
I had some leeway time, so it was just processing what I was going to do and how I was going to be able to manage it, looking at the fact that I've made changes before, come out on the other side fine, that there is a little bit of upheaval for a period of time, but you get over it and you get into new patterns and new habits, and that's okay.
And I think it's the hardest when it's a situation like yours where it wasn't your idea. You
Yes.
were perfectly happy where you were. You'd been there for a long time. And so then you had to say, okay, it's not my idea, but I can deal with this and I can do it.
And it's embracing just the different opportunities then you have,
That's
the different
right.
people you see, the different way of doing things. And I also look at it, I teach the 2 weeks to a younger brain, and just thinking about how we like to get into ruts. Our brain has
yes.
pathways, just like the stream that goes down the hill, and if we stay in those pathways, we're not developing our brain. So a change actually is good for our brains because it forces it to go into different realms that we have to think a little bit and create.
And I think it's hardest when it's not our choice.
Definitely.
When my last job, well, a couple of jobs back, I was working in a personnel office and I was handling a certain portion of our agency's population. I loved that job. I could easily have done that job for the rest of my life. And when they gave that to me, I thought, oh, this is great. I'll do this forever. And then came the day, no, Susan, we're taking that away from you. And now you're going to do this. And it was, and I had to learn a whole new set of information, et cetera, et cetera. But when it's not your choice, it's kind of the most difficult, but it's really the best for you. Because as I moved into the new duties, I realized, oh, if I'd only known this when I was doing this, but and I had to learn new things, and you're forced into new behaviors. I think one of the most difficult changes, not the most difficult, but especially for single people moving here to Green Spring, is going to eat. Because for the majority of people, maybe they've been part of a couple, and they no longer are. And it's really easier if you're part of a couple. The two of you are going into battle together and you're going to handle the situation. But now, here I am a new resident, and they want me to go to that dining room with all of those people, and either I'm going to have to eat alone or with strangers, and I'm not comfortable doing that. Thus, we have a lot of people stuck in their apartments who need to be out socializing. And it's difficult to come up with those people skills, to walk up to a stranger and say, hi, I'm Susan, nice to meet you. But it's hard for people to do that. It's difficult. And I think those are the people here at Green Spring that we worry about a lot, who are staying in their apartments, they're getting carry-out food, or they're still cooking in their own apartments, saying, well, I just feel more comfortable doing this. Those are the people that I worry about the most. How do you talk with people like that? Do you have contact with them? Do they come to you?
Sure, and I think what we look at is the other ways they're socializing. So maybe they're not comfortable going to dinner yet, but they're trying to go to clubs and meet people on a smaller basis.
And that's a good, healthy way to start.
Yeah, and then that also gives them somebody, if I've met you in Bridge Club, I can say, well, where do you go to dinner? Could I join you? And then I have a familiar face kind of thing. And just starting to get involved in little ways. And certainly the welcoming committee, the resident welcoming committee is a great resource of that one-on-one connection. Some of the hallways are really, really good at welcoming residents. And,
Yes.
I'm going to take my neighbor to dinner tonight kind of
That's
thing.
so nice.
So I think one-on-one the residents do a really good job of that. But just encouraging residents to make that change in smaller steps. You don't need to jump into the deep end.
Sometimes
you can start by
encouraging them even to go to a club is difficult.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. As an introvert, I totally get that.
Yes.
You
And
want
I
me
do
to
too.
do what?
I do too. I don't want to. I've never seen those people before. No,
Right,
I don't want
yeah.
to do that. I'll just stay in my apartment.
But again, going back to that resiliency thing, we've all at one point or another walked into that club or into that meeting or into that religious organization or something.
And the world did not come to an end.
The world did not come to an end, and most of us got really good friends out of those.
Yes.
It's having to remember that.
I think we all go back to being 7th graders and say,
No kidding.
am I wearing the right clothes? Are they going to point and stare at me? Is there something wrong? Is it the way I talked? And people are just, I think a lot of us are basically introverts and really have to push ourselves out there to go out and sit at a table with people we don't know and get to know these people.
I think that's the difficult part about dinner here, is that up until moving to Green Spring, most of us eat in our own home, and it's just ourselves or a spouse or maybe some small family members, but then you get here and you have that opportunity to eat with 100 of your people, all
100 people you've never known.
And I think that for some is just looking at that piece too, and then respecting that there are some people that choose not to. Just looking at everybody, and I think to Elena, if residents are getting out and doing some of the activities, it's just balancing what is comfort level too.
Yeah.
I think that, and then challenging established residents to invite somebody to dinner sometimes.
Absolutely.
To say,
Yes.
hey, we're going to dinner here. Would you like to come with us? If there's a reservation to be made, or just to
Whatever it
include
is.
somebody.
And that's a very good thing for all of us to do.
And I know.
To remember to do that.
Yeah.
One set of questions, I mentioned this a little bit, but it's things to ask yourself when you're in the midst of change and say, on this change, what couldn't you do before but can you do now? And that's a really positive way of looking at it. For instance, I live here at Green Spring. I can walk inside, and I don't have to go outside. I don't have to bundle up or take clothes off or whatever one does for the weather. I can get exercise just walking inside. There's so many good positive changes. I don't have to change a light bulb ever again. These kinds of things.
Or shovel snow,
Or
rake leaves, or blow out the gutters. Yes,
There's Sue's ready to move
really.
in.
my husband does
Let
all
me call
that.
the sales office. Right. And another question is, what could you do before that you can't do now? And I think that's the question that too many people focus on. That, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. But do you really miss it? Is it that, if it's that important to you, there's a way to make it happen. So some people, unfortunately, focus on that. What could you do that you couldn't do before and still can't do? It's like, are you still playing the piano? Well, no, I never played the piano. Some things really don't change. And the final one they said was, what are things that you could do before the change that you can still do? And that's the positive.
Yeah.
That's what we really want to focus on.
And I think that's what Sue said earlier of, on the counterpart of what I said of trying to do new things to acclimate, also keeping routines and things you could still do that'll keep you grounded and provide some familiarity in the change.
And I think in terms of the things that you could do before that you can't do now, grief is a part of transition. And it's okay to grieve what you used to be able to do, or a community you used to have that maybe just because of life changes,
or
isn't
maybe you
as
moved
strong,
from across
or
the
maybe,
country.
It's okay to grieve that. That's a part of
Sure.
transition. You obviously you don't want to wallow in it, definitely.
And that's the right word.
But grief is a part of life,
Yeah.
and I think we as a society don't recognize that enough.
And then looking at that question of what can you do now
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
you couldn't. So
Absolutely.
if you get stuck in what could I do that I can't do now, if you get stuck in that and forget to put in that other piece of what can I do now,
And
or
get
what-
out and try it.
Yes.
what positives
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
But I think this community is a really good community to be able to help residents that are struggling with change, because we do have a number of resources here. I think we touched on all of the different activities and groups to include our whole faith-based pastoral ministries. So we have a lot of different resources here to be able to help residents. One of the if you look up different ways to manage stress and anxiety, to do meditation. We do have a meditation group that meets
Which
here.
may be right for some people,
Which may,
but
yeah.
not right for everyone.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fitness center. They're going to be having some change as well. So but I know they are embracing that change and really trying to figure out how to best support everybody in that change. So it's like going with them and figuring out what the new pattern will be.
And typical for them, they're embracing it with great enthusiasm.
Yes, so being a part of that, and instead of saying, oh, we're not going to be able to go to the same place, it's like, where are we going to get to go?
Yeah, yeah. What new place are we going to get to try?
But you bring out one point that jumped out for me as you were talking, and that is that to remind yourself, it's not just about you. There are many people around you that are having challenges with whatever is in a day. Take the focus away from yourself and see how you can assist someone else. See how you can work with them and say, oh, okay, well, we're both new residents. Would you like to have lunch together or something like that?
Yeah.
So that you're not focusing on, it's so easy, especially if you're a single person, it's so easy to focus on yourself and it's all about me and, oh, I'm so upset and my stomach's upset and my head aches and I'm probably having a horrible disease here because I feel so terrible and I don't have any energy. Instead of saying, okay, it's not just about me. Look at the people around me. Would this person enjoy just visiting a little bit? What can you do to help someone else? Or how can you find situations where you have other people to talk to?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you join something and you have to be a member forever.
No, absolutely. And I think
try it.
Another thing to remember is, as worried as you are about asking that other new resident to have lunch, they're just as worried. Like they're just as scared. Right. So it's that sort of just do it and
that fear is no different for the people here at Green Spring and our age group than it is for the child who's going to kindergarten the first day and sits down beside a child he or she has never seen before and needs to say hi and can't do it.
Right.
Yeah. So there are a lot of challenges with it. One of the slides that we have here talks about the physiological signs that you're under too much stress. And there are a bunch of them here. There it is, aches and pains, headaches, palpitations, chronic exhaustion, change in sexual desire, change in appetite. I just don't feel like eating, so I'm not going. Frequent infections. Some people really do get physically sick. And gastrointestinal symptoms, which was the one that I specialized in when I was homesick at camp. Mm-hmm. I was sure that if I had Cheerios, that life would be all right. What no kid. But then there are psychological changes also, psychological signs, and a lot of it's anxiety. Mm-hmm. And I hear a lot of residents say, well, I was all right while my daughter was here moving me in, but now she's gone home and I won't see her for a week. And that anxiety level becomes really high. Everything was fine until you're left handling it on your own. Mm-hmm. So that changes, and it's the same way with the changes that we're making in rooms here. I can't find Stephanie anymore in that office. Well, where did the medical center? Well, I've never been there. What do I do when I go in the door? I don't want to make a fool of myself. It's just little bits of change. Irritability and moodiness, we see that a lot here. And I would say to all of our residents, remind yourselves that this is not, whatever it is, it's not worth getting that upset about. I witnessed a lady talking with one of the workers in the fireside dining room yesterday. Very irritable, very moody, very angry, and it wasn't a situation for which she needed to become that upset. But that's what we do when we're afraid. We lash out at others in a way that we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. And I think if you're sensing any of those, especially in relationship to change, it's what can you do about it?
That's right.
And I think
let's say that I realized I was being more angry than I should be all the time. Mm-hmm. What can I do?
I think talking about it, not necessarily in an agitated, lashing out way, but talking to others about it, about what you're feeling, about what is going on is very helpful. But then I think also looking at maybe going to one of the activities that we have here, in particular the meditation group, or fitness, doing physical fitness of any kind is shown to change those endorphins just a little bit to something that can help us overcome some of these feelings of agitation.
We have a grief counseling group, right? A grief.
So there's a grief group through Pastoral Ministries.
Okay. So if part of my change anxiety is resulting from grief of whatever kind, what happens in that group if I go to that group?
It's been a while since I've been to it,
Okay.
But I think they talk through change, and they, because it's Pastoral Ministries, they do it with a biblical overview. But just looking at, it's a lot of grief groups are hearing other people's experiences and
hearing that it's not only
hearing
me.
the commonalities. Yeah,
I'm not the only person who felt this way. So that's another possible place to.
Absolutely,
to
and
go
certainly,
to work through
coming
some
to talk to, one of us, or Kathleen Taylor in the medical center, is the medical center social worker, and even just for a short time of counseling with Kathleen, or a conversation or two with one of us.
And part of what you're saying is that it's all right to say I'm having a problem.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And to recognize
Yeah.
that
To
you are,
recognize
the first step is to recognize that you are having more difficulty accepting the change
Right.
and acclimating to it. And once you do that, then you can do the next step, which is trying to help yourself get over that hump.
Trying to work
get
through it.
To get through to the positive side, where you can see how the change has brought some benefits to
And
the
sometimes
next
that's the
part,
hardest
to
thing
the
for
next
someone
chapter.
to admit. Like right now, one of the ladies that I see on a regular basis was, this change, this refreshing, or whatever they call it, in Woodland Skies. Why would they want to do this? Why would they change this? And the same lady last week says, wait until you see the area by the theater. It is beautiful. There are beautiful chairs. They are comfortable chairs. There's beautiful, beautiful carpet and the paint on the walls. When they saw the whole package together, it was like, oh. And of course, this person completely forgot about how much she had thought this wasn't going to go so well. So sometimes we need to just let it work itself through, and don't be so quickly judgmental about things. Yeah. Tell me, each of you, I want you to tell me about the most difficult change you've ever handled in your life. Stephanie.
Handled in
Ever.
our life. I don't know if ever, but a difficult change for me was I had graduated from undergrad and had started working, and then decided to go get my master's degree. So making the decision to go back to school, going away from working, having to do homework again, all of those things, and then while also still trying to make money to sustain myself was certainly...
In order to pay for that school.
Exactly, for the school was certainly a stressful experience, and so I think I went through the whole process we talked about. I was probably annoyed with myself for making the choice, and then quickly realized the benefits that could come out of it, and kind of went through the whole acceptance
And had to work
of it.
through it.
Yeah, absolutely, but ultimately it led me here.
And it is a process of working through it.
Right.
It's not easy for everyone.
And I definitely couldn't do it alone, so talking to people and your support network really helped me with that.
That's good. Elena, how about you?
I think actually very similar to Stephanie's. Social work is my second career, and so when I was making a transition in my first career, I was a policy person, and sort of came to the abrupt conclusion that was not what I wanted to do anymore, but didn't really know what I wanted to do next.
That was scary
which
in itself.
then led me to panic. But just sort of that process of working through, okay, if you don't want to do this, what do you want to do? And, as Stephanie said, you got to pay the bills in the meantime, so how are you going to do that? And
So yours was a voluntary change. Well, for both of you, there were voluntary changes, but they still had stress.
But still, very scary and very stressful, and just I think taking it one step at a time, and literally figuring out, okay, you can't pay the rent next month, go get a job, and just kind of working.
And you have to
through
do it. And going to get a job, I'm
Right.
sure, was not easy at that point, because you knew you didn't want to stay in policy.
Right. So
So
then
you needed
it
to do
was
something.
It was just sort of get a job to make income, and
And you got through it.
But again, I got through it, and as Stephanie said, it led me here, and
And we're glad.
I'm so much happier now. You know, it's great.
Sue, how about you? Tell us about a stressful period in your life.
What pops into mind is after the birth of our first child, going back to work I was in the Marine Band at the time, and they gave you 30 days. And so after 30 days going back to work and having to leave your young month-old child with somebody else, I mean, that was extremely stressful. But again, it's once you do it a couple of times, you realize that the child is going to survive and that you can do it, and it's just knowing, having that confidence to know that it will work. And you do get through it. And I think a lot of us, if we just think about times when we had the change and we did get over to the other side. We did, and we will. We are resilient.
That's right. We have the skills.
We do have the skills, and we have so many different examples of when we had to change and got to the other side of it. So it's just going and remembering that we will get through this.
And I think a part of it is that, yes, we reach out to a support network, but when it comes right down to it, we are the people who have to handle the change. No one can do it for us.
And it impacts us all a little bit differently, and so
Yes.
how are we going to let it impact us?
That's right.
In that way.
A couple of quotes here. Ben Franklin said, "When you're finished changing, you're finished."
I love that one.
And that's a great
Sure.
one, because you can't, things can't stay the same way forever, and we would not be happy if they did. And another one, this was from President Kennedy: "Change is the law of life," and I love this. "Those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future." And I never want people to think that as they age, that there aren't new opportunities for them, new things to learn, new people to meet, new excitement in your life.
That's what
Absolutely.
keeps us living.
That's right. That's what
Change.
keeps us going. That's why we quit crawling and decided to try walking.
Exactly.
right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Words that you would like to close with, ladies.
We'll embrace change, but please, if there's something that you'd like to come talk to one of us about, any of the resident services coordinators, please feel free to call us, seek us out, and we will definitely be there for you.
That's good. Elena, same thing?
Yeah, use the resources at Green Spring. I mean,
Yes.
we have so many resources, so much available here. Utilize them. You know, and if you're not sure what would be best for you, come talk to one of us. We'll help you figure it out.
Stephanie, what can you add?
Piggybacking again, I mean, there is a lot of it on yourself with the change, but it's also a community that embraces each other.
Don't be
and-
afraid to reach out.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. So this month we have, as a part of the entire Embrace Wellness initiative, this month we have talked about emotional change. And I think we've already done environmental change, and there's another one in the middle there that I don't remember which was the second focus. But we invite our listeners to stay tuned for more discussions on various parts of what makes us overall well people. This is just one piece of it. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Susan.
we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes.
Okay. And thanks to our listeners for joining us.